live on the laptop as well. I know I shouldn't put off food prep, but I don't know. Things happen. I get to be a busy bee, and then I don't get around to food prep. I was installing a new rug today and dusting things and whatnot. So I just didn't get around to all the things that I had set out to do. Like I had all these plans in the sky about things I wanted to do, and it just didn't happen. So it's not that I didn't have good intentions, it just didn't happen. So now I'm gonna jam and do double time. And yeah, some of you will be like, oh, you should go to bed. But if I ever want to meal prep and not get takeout, then I have to push myself to brink point and back. Yeah, some people don't get it, that some of us have to push ourselves to the brink and back to do things. Like I had this one person saying, oh, you shouldn't vacuum on Sunday. I was just like, well, you live a very luxurious life because you don't have to push yourself to the brink point and back. But people that want to have a back, if you work, there's no days off. How? Like you're always pushing yourself harder and faster, and that's just how it is. I know some people don't get it because my house doesn't clean itself. The laundry doesn't do itself. If you want something done, you have to do it yourself. And that's just how the cookie crumbles. It might not be what you want to hear, but I just feel like that's a place of privilege. Like people that, like, they're just very privileged when they can say, well, you must have a day of rest, because it's kind of old school too, because I think life people have always worked hard, but in a way, life used to be slower, and that's just not modern life. It's just not how things are now. Things keep getting progressively more busy. I'm not saying that it's the best thing, but that's just the way it is. It's just the way it is, and there's no days off if you want to do, like a hobby or whatnot. I mean, I did have 2 days off. It's just I found I was like, oh, I was dusting, and then I really need to push myself to keep at it, because if I stop dusting and I take too many breaks, then it gets late at night, and then I'm like, I still need to do this and I still need to do that, And I do everything on foot, so that's another thing. I feel like when you do everything on foot, I don't know. Anyway, no biggie. I've also been exploring making content, like a new kind of content, and it just really hasn't panned out the way I thought, because I thought, oh, I'll try this on another platform, similar to like what I do with YouTube, but I'm just not seeing the benefit of it. Like, it's not really panning out. I'm just like, it's more work than I thought. So I think I'm going to scale back on that, because I thought I would try like some other sites that are kind of like YouTube. Like there's this one that says you can maybe monetize your content, and I'm like, I don't know. I've uploaded a few videos. I'm not really enthusiastic about the progress, so I think I'm just going to go back to just doing YouTube, honestly. But I got a lot of things done today. Like I installed a new rug, I dusted stuff. I took a lot of breaks in between. Like I should just be like pushing myself. It's just sometimes, even though I don't really rest on Sunday and Monday, I am like exhausted. So I'm like, push yourself some more and more and more and more. Like that's my incentive, is to get more done, But I got done what I did. It wasn't quite as much as I had wanted. But I guess it's gonna have to be good enough for today, of the moment, so to speak. Like, I think ideally it would have been better to get more done, but it all worked out. And then I have this cute little, like, Sistema. It's called Sistema. Just like a thing. It's cute. Let's just start packing veggies into it, filling it up. That's my plan. Cut the lettuce leaves for it. I mean, it's not that I didn't relax today, because I did to some extent. Like, I did some relaxing stuff, like a little tiny bed. But, you know, I did a lot of dusting, and I unpacked this adorable soap that I got from Burlington. Love it. Okay, I'm going to talk about sponsorships and reviewing products. I'm still going to do some shopping hauls, although I think I've bought a lot of stuff this year. Yeah, I probably went a little overboard on what I bought this year. I've had fun shopping, okay? I don't know what it is. Post Panini me just went a little overboard, like shoppy. I don't know why I did that, but I think I'm going to tell myself I feel like I've got or obtained pretty much everything that I need right now. I don't think I need to buy more stuff. But I am glad that I got that new rug, because I know somebody will adopt the old rug out of the dumpster, because there's people that dumpster dive around here. So I don't even feel bad that I didn't take it to Goodwill, because honestly, I would never donate anything to Goodwill, like, ever. Never. Like, I would give, if I wanted to get rid of something, I'd look into a buy-sell trade group, I'd ask a neighbor, but I would never give anything to, like, a thrift store, because I just think thrifting is like a scam. Like, it's like, I think it's kind of like greenwashing. It's another form of greenwashing. I think people are like, oh, like, they're helping the environment. But nowadays, like, unless you found some really vintage stuff and you really got lucky, like, I think 20 years ago, even 10 years ago, thrifting was a really good deal. Maybe even like 7-8 years ago. But it's just really gone downhill. But I would say even in 2016, 15, it wasn't really a good deal anymore. Because my dad was really into thrifting, and he said he wanted to check out the San Bernardino Salvation Army. They're all very shady. That's why I don't believe in thrifting. This is why I'm telling you, like, if you know that people are going to go dumpster diving in your local dumpster, and I see them do it all day and night here, because it's not, I mean, they're not going to prosecute somebody for going through the dumpster. Like, there's these reclamation guys. So I just put it to the side of the dumpster. Plus, it really, the rug wasn't looking the best. Somebody said, poor rug. I mean, I love the rug. I've had it for a long time, but it just was kind of curling up because it's near my door. But yeah, no, thrifting is a scam. Like, can we just be honest? Because, I mean, unless it's like an independent thrift store that I don't know might be connected to like a mosque or a church or something, like that you really know that you vet. The Goodwill and the Salvation Army, they're not really charitable at all, because I've been looking into this for years. Why don't they have like a massive scale homeless shelter for all the homeless people in Southern California? There should be 100% option for any homeless person that wants to get off the street, but they really don't do anything. And finally they're starting to do something, but they're not really doing enough. Like, no, they're not good at all. That's what I'm saying. Like, the stories, like the horror stories about how, first off, the Goodwill pays like special needs people like nothing. Like, what, cents on the dollar? They don't even pay them like minimum wage. They don't even pay their employees minimum wage. And then I read something about how an employee was given like a tip from a local business, and they let her go because she was given like a $10 tip. Something really ludicrous. And they've raised their prices way off the wall. Their prices are just insane. And also, it's greenwashing again. It's like Al Gore at his finest. I mean, I think RFK is actually a true environmentalist. Al Gore, boom, boom, boom. Not really. Not really. Because let me tell you something about Al Gore. For us who lived through the 90s, like, he would say all these grandiose things about being pro-environment, but then, like, he's flying around on a jet. And he's doing, like, all this stuff, like, he's living a very high carbon footprint lifestyle. And I'm not even trying to shame somebody saying that they must be an environmentalist, but he's doing all the same things that the other celebrities do, but yet he's saying that he's environmental. And that doesn't make any sense, because he's doing all the same things and he lives a very flashy lifestyle. He's not living like Jimmy Carter and his wife were. He's not like a modest person. Like, that was not Al Gore. Al Gore was very flashy. He was very all about, like, he even claimed, like, okay, those of us who were kids in the 90s remember what he said about how he invented the internet. And he did not exaggerate that. It was a joke in the 90s. Even people like my parents who voted for him were like chuckling, for Bill Clinton, but he comes along for the ride. Like, he said, like, he tried to make it sound like he invented the internet, and everybody used to laugh. They're like, you did not invent the internet. DARPANET, okay? That was the predecessor of the internet. And the UCs and the military. Like, no, Al Gore, you did not invent the internet. But he's just he's very grandiose. And then he had that movie that came out, The Inconvenient Truth, which seemed really like, it seemed like a good movie on climate change. And then he acted like he was very pro independent press. But I don't know if people ever followed the Young Turks. Like, I really do respect Cenk Uygur. I do. Like, I respect him, like, a lot. But it's kind of hilarious, because when Al Gore got an opportunity to sell his independent news network, that he said he believed in independent journalism, he sold it for top dollar to Al Jazeera, which is mainstream media. Like, he loves to talk show, so I don't even care. Like, honestly, I just feel like if you want to be like a vegan, environmentalist, minimalist, do it for you. Like, don't make it like this grandiose thing, because I think anybody who's making it like a preachy thing, it's just weird. Because people that are really sustainable, like, they're not like bragging. I'm not saying I agree with the Young Turks, because I don't agree with everything that Cenk Uygur does. Like, I don't agree with all his stances. Like, there are some things, but I would say out of all of them, he's a little bit more balanced, because he used to be a Republican. I know he's more left-leaning now, but this is the point. They were independent, like, journalists, and Al Gore pretended like he promoted independent journalism, and then he went and sold his network to Al Jazeera TV, so he turned around and did the thing that he was always criticizing, like the big media corps for doing. That's the point. So you don't have to like Cenk Uygur. You don't have to like him. But I mean, I don't think he's any more questionable than like the buddies on Fox News. Like, he just happens to be left leaning, and maybe your view is more right wingy, and I tend to have some left views and some moderate views, and I tend to be like, I'm an independent person, but I'm definitely not a conservative. Like, I think conservatives are Kool-Aid land. I think Trumpies are Kool-Aid land. I think Al Gore's Kool-Aid land. Like, I'm able to look at a little bit of everything and come to a conclusion. And I think you kind of have to know the narrative. Like, you kind of have to do more research. You can't just be like, oh my gosh, I don't agree with all their videos. No, that's not it. But sometimes, you know, Cenk Uygur can make a good point. Not everything. I don't agree with everything he says. Like, no. I mean, I just tend to be more of an independent person. But I will say this, like, if you have independent journalists who basically were supported by Al Gore, and then he kind of just sold his like little media corp and said, oh well, sorry, and he claimed to be like, I'm all pro independent media. Like, that's the point. I mean, I think like because you lean conservative, like you're not a fan of him. I think that's kind of, maybe that's, I don't know. That you can lean any way you want, but honestly, like, I don't even like the political divide. I think the political divide in America is toxic. I think people got way too toxic when they started supporting like Trump versus Biden thing. It's been toxic for a long time, but I think the paninis just emphasizing the toxicity, and nobody realized how bad both of them were. Please do not be a fan of Donald Trump. Like, check your mind. Check your mind. Do not be a fan of DeSantis. Do not be a fan of Biden. Like, they're all not good candidates. How about that? I think the people, okay, I mean, I understand, like, if you're pretty left-leaning, like, I'm not saying I agree with everything they do, but I didn't really understand, like, what your rationale was. Because I don't agree with conservatives on everything, even though I feel like I kind of am more independent. I don't like the division in this country, and the division is just really, ugh. I hate it because it's divide and conquer politics, and people are falling for it. And then another thing that I hate about American politics is how insular Americans are, and Americans just talk about their own politics, and there's all sorts of things happening in the world. Like, nobody's talking about what's happening in Iran, about these young women that are fighting for their, like, freedom, and because of our political stance towards Iran, like, we don't acknowledge that. Like, they're not even covering it really in the news. What's happening in Paris? Like, there's all sorts of things that are happening in the world, but it's just like news stories in the U.S. tend to just focus on U.S. affairs, and I don't know. I always like to know the international news too, or like to know what's going on in the world, so I never liked that. Like, I was just like, American politics, you're a little too full of yourself. You need to just chill it down a notch, you know? That's kind of my opinion, but to each his own. I'm not a fan of all this political bickering. It's very toxic, and it's divide and conquer politics that is as old as time, but the Roman Empire really specialized in it. And what happened to the Roman Empire? It collapsed. So I just think it would be to our benefit if Americans could just be Americans again. Like, there used to be a time that even if Americans didn't agree politically, like, people would go out and, like, I don't know, they'd go to the bar together. I don't drink, but, like, guys would, that, like, working guys. They didn't all, like, I'm blocking you because you voted for somebody else. It's pretty lame, man. Like, these people that can't be friends anymore because they all have different political opinions, even though these are usually people that grew up together, that had similar experiences, that have everything in common, but they've thrown away their friendship over, like, divide and conquer politics, which is something, like, if you know, like the picture of Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton at Donald Trump's wedding. That should tell you everything you need to know. Like, the elites may pretend to hate each other, but they don't really hate each other. Like, I mean, yeah, they want to be in power. Each one of them wants power, but they don't really hate each other as much as you think they do, you know? Some of it is theater and divide and they all get together to vote themselves a raise. Just remember that. Remember that? I don't know. Anyway, enough politics for a day. I'm like, it's interesting. I do think I like RFK though. I'm kind of liking Junior. I think he could be a good candidate. I think he's interesting. I know a lot of people don't like him because of his stance on the preventative thing, but I like, even if he has like just a certain speech impediment due to an illness he had, I actually think he strives to be more articulate than Biden, who's like, let's be honest, he is not competent to be president, and I have thought that since 2020, but I feel like so many people just go along with whatever the Dems want, like whatever the mainline Democrats want, they are there to support it all the way every day, even though, yeah, it's getting kind of weird, and he's doing things that are really embarrassing, like talking to the guards when he went to go visit the royal guards, when he went to go visit King Charles III. You don't do that. Nobody does that. Like, I don't know. It's questionable, man. But anyway, I mean, I know there's going to be this big food fight and everybody's, but I think I do like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And you know what I like about him and what he pointed out was that his uncle Ted Kennedy was able to work with everybody across the aisle. Like, he was a unifier, and he didn't have like this dirty, I'm not saying that he's a saint or any politician's a saint, but I kind of like that he's focusing on the unifying factor, because I'll tell you this, Biden's not, and DeSantis is definitely not, and Trump is just crazy, off the wall, in his own little planet. Like, no. I mean, the only good thing that happened recently was people stopped caravanning for Trump. Like, really? Like, it was kind of embarrassing. Like, they were still, like, driving up and down the street, like, for him. And I'm like, I don't know about that one, but hey, if you want to care, I don't know where you're going, but, yeah, you're going somewhere, just not anywhere I'm interested in going, I guess, I don't know. Anyway, yeah, that's our political talk. There used to be a time, even though American politics could be divisive, the people were just Americans, and this is another thing as an American. I'm proud to be an American, and I love patriotism, and right now, like, I think it's kind of becoming disgusting, because, like, I've even seen some people say that any form of patriotism for America is racism, and that if you fly the American flag, which is the flag of our country, that you're a racist. And do you know how disrespectful that is to people that, I don't know, it really triggers me a lot, because my dad was in the Air Force. My dad was in the Air Force. My grandpa was in the Air Force. So do not come to me with that. And I will, no, I will show you how wrong you are. You go to, if you go to the local VA here in Loma Linda, there are people of all ethnicities that served our country. And it's just so disrespectful and so shameful that people are saying that the American flag is racist. I don't like that. So anyway, those are my thoughts on that. And people should be ashamed of themselves that they as Americans look down upon being, like, you can question your country. That's the beauty of being an American. That's one of the freedoms we have. But just to, like, act like our flag is racist. I know there have been racist things that happened in our country, but there's no other country where people are acting like this. I just think Americans are kind of losing it. Really. And so disrespectful to people that served our country. So disrespectful. I don't know. I think about my dad, and yeah, it's disrespect. So do not come to me with that, because I respect people that served for our country. And how ironic, like, if we had not had people like my grandpas, both of them, who served in World War II, we might have lost the war. I mean, do you know what you're saying? Like, when you say these things, like, people that say these things, I think they just sound really ignorant. I don't think they know what they're saying. you know, I really feel like they do not know what they're saying, because if you don't have respect for this country, who do you owe your allegiance to? China? Is that who you pledge your allegiance to, is China? I mean, what are you saying? Like, it's fine. Like, I get it. Like, if you're a Jehovah's Witness or something, because they don't believe in military service or Amish, but just general people that act like wearing patriotic clothing on the 4th of July or liking an American flag towel. And I just can't help but think, like, I felt like maybe that was why it was harder to find some patriotic decor this last year, because I feel like a lot of people are hating on our flag. And I'm sorry, but conservatives don't own the flag of the United States. Americans own the flag of the United States, and I love our flag, and I love the red, white, and blue flag, and it makes me proud, and I love being an American. And I appreciate where I came from. I know that I'm part English and I'm part Syrian, but my fully Syrian grandpa served in World War II. So, you know, shame on people that say these things, like, because a lot of non-white people, my grandpa, served in the military. So shame on you, you people who claim that that the flag is racist. And also, you just sound ignorant. I think at the end of the day, you just sound ignorant. And, like, it's kind of like these people, like this whole trope where people are saying, like, oh, it's because of capitalism. And they keep talking about how capitalism is so horrible. And then I'm thinking, well, what do they think is better? Do they want to be a communist country? Because I'm going to tell you something. Capitalism is alive and well in China. It's still alive. I mean, I would say a lot of civil liberties and freedoms are far less in America than they were maybe 10 years ago, but we still have a little bit more freedom than, like, people living in China, but they still have a very capitalist society. China did not stop being, in fact, since 1980, they've become a very corporate capitalist society. Where do you think all the products come from? Where do you think the rising middle class is coming from? From people selling things to the West. So, like, all these young people, they're like, I don't know. I think they just are, they're not evaluating things. They're just like, oh, they just keep talking how capitalism is so bad. I don't like corporate capitalism, but the free market economy is not bad. The free market economy, which promotes small business, is not bad. I think if you would stop to think about what you're saying, and I'm not even, like, pro unnecessary wars. I'm not a war hawk. I don't, and you know who's a war hawk is actually Biden. Like, he is a super war hawk. Like, he is not some peaceful Democrat like Jimmy Carter. I mean, alien stuff, I haven't looked into that, but I will tell you this. I've seen weird things. Like, I haven't looked into that. But we saw things up in the mountains here in Southern California, like up in the San Bernardino Mountains. We saw things in the sky. Like, one time, my mom and I, in 2003, like, we looked out the window and there were these, it was weird. We thought it was probably the government testing something, or no, I don't know, somebody testing something. Maybe they were testing drones and it just wasn't into the public yet. But there were these lights, and they were like in pyramid like shapes, and they were like rotating over the hills, and then they'd come up close and go away. And there's been quite a few times that we just saw lights in the night sky that would just stop, be stationary, would not move, and then gone. So I don't know, like, I've seen things before that I don't know what the recent thing is that everybody's talking about. Because honestly, I haven't looked into that news story. I don't have television, so I just read news stories, and I didn't come across that one yet. So that's interesting. I don't know. Do you mean like aliens in the sky, or do you mean like, I think that's what you mean. Because I think that's what you mean. I'm not sure, but I don't know. I think that's what you mean, but I'm not sure. I'll have to look up. Maybe you mean something else. I don't know. cut up more onion. We're gonna cut all the tomatoes up. And yes, I do wash mushrooms because I know people like don't wash them because they have dirt all over them. I want to wash them. People also got mad at me because I eat raw mushrooms. They're like, you can't eat raw mushrooms. Oh my god. I've ate raw mushrooms all my life. I mean, so I don't know what to say that these strange things were in the night sky. Maybe it was people testing drones. Maybe. But I don't know. I can't tell you. Because I don't study the night sky. I'm not an astronomer. So I've seen things that looked weird. But maybe it was just people were testing different aircrafts. And I had never seen that kind of aircraft before. But also keep this in mind. We live over a flight path. So I've seen hundreds and hundreds of planes every year. Hundreds and hundreds of planes. I know what a plane looks like when it's flying over the mountains. And I'll tell you, that night in 2003, that did not look like a plane because planes don't go into three little lights and start rotating. Or sometimes you would go out on the backside of the San Bernardino Mountains and you'd take a pair of binoculars and you would look out towards Mount Baldy. And all of a sudden this light would appear on the mountain in the distance. And then it'd go away. And it just would be weird stuff like that. But I don't know. Maybe people were testing out drones. This was the early 2000s. I don't know. Maybe drones were really popular back then. But another thing I heard is I remember people said that even in the 1970s on the backside of the mountains, sometimes late at night, you'd look out the window. And yes, there was still a flight path back then because Ontario Airport takes off and goes over the San Bernardino Mountains across, as it goes aloft, it goes above Mount Baldy, Mount San Antonio as well. But people said that they would see stationary light in the sky. I don't know. It was interesting. Like, people have been saying that for years, just like you would see this light, and it wasn't an airplane because an airplane's just not going to stand still, go boop, boop, real bright. I don't know. It's interesting. So, I don't know about what it is, but a lot of people do believe that there's extraterrestrial activity. I mean, we've seen some weird things, but they said, oh, it's because they were testing a satellite or a satellite was released. And I'm like, okay, I don't know. There always seems to be an explanation every time I think something looks kind of strange. So maybe they were just testing on different aircraft. I don't know. So what's my opinion on it? Maybe there are aliens. I've never met an alien though. And I've been ghost stories. I don't know, like, well, I saw a reflection of like a hat once on a window. There was nobody there, but maybe it was just light. Now, I don't have a ghost story myself, but I could tell you a story about my mom. My mom doesn't come online, but she wouldn't mind if I told the story, I don't think. So, they were renting this house before I was born. This was like 4 years before I was born. It kind of makes me sound really scared, actually, to think about it. So, my mom always told me that if my dad wasn't there at night, she got really scared to be in certain parts of the house. Like, she only wanted to be in this one room, and she just felt really creeped out. She didn't know why. She just felt really scared. Like, she never saw anything, but she literally felt like she was afraid to move around this house. So they didn't live in that house long. Like, they rented it, I think, for like 6 months or something. But this was the scary thing. Like, she said the day that they moved out, the landlord said, yeah, I didn't tell you somebody had been killed. Oh my God. This just really scares me. But this is a true story. So he told my mom and my dad when they were moving out, oh my gosh, I don't know. How am I going to find another tenant? And he knew that they had just moved to California. And he said it was really hard to rent that house out because somebody had been killed there. Like, a few months prior. Oh my gosh, it really scares me when I think about that. And I don't even know if I 100% believe in ghosts. Like, I'm not saying that they're not real. Maybe they are. But that story just like, oh, makes me feel very freaky and frightened. And I was like, so yeah, she never saw anything, but she was afraid to move. Like, so, but that wasn't something that I experienced. Like, I thought I saw a reflection of something once. I've never had like a paranormal thing happen to me. You know? Yeah, and she didn't know. That was the weird thing. Like, she didn't know that happened, like, until, and I'm not making this up because she's not the kind of person that even goes on social media or has an interest. Like, she's just not interested, period. So, I mean, that's just creepy. Like, so maybe there was just, like, some sort of sense that something had happened there. I don't know. Like, some sort of sense, like, oh my gosh. I don't know. It makes me feel kind of creeped out thinking about it. Anyway. Yeah, I mean, so, I mean, if you ever want to hear some good ghost stories, though, check out some of the old episodes of Unsolved Mysteries. Like, they're pretty cool. We love Unsolved Mysteries. Very nostalgic. So, there's some good episodes on there about people, like, I don't know if these things really happened, but they claim that they did. So, if you ever want to hear, like, some, like really, really good ghost stories, I would definitely recommend Unsolved Mysteries. That would be my recommendation. I used to get so scared. Like, okay, so I never, like, as a kid, experienced a paranormal activity, but that show just made me feel like, oh my golly, so scary. Okay. Okay, so I thought I had new salad dressing. You know, somebody should do like an ASMR ghost story. Like, I think that would be kind of cool because, and the old radio shows used to be kind of spooky too. Like, I remember on the AM radio, they used to like play some of the old detective type stories, and those were kind of noir and kind of spooky. But you know what I was thinking would be kind of cool is if somebody that's interested in that, it's not me obviously, should make a ghost story. I'm gonna put some salad dressing in this thing because I don't know what to do with it. It's a lot. I don't want that much, but you're in there anyway. Oh, you're so cute. I don't think I'm gonna put the Topsies on it, but I'm not gonna. But look, you could pack things on top, but this is pretty full, so I think I'll have it like that. He's adorable. I love it. Love it. This onion is gonna be thrown away because I did drop it, and I don't want to eat an onion I stepped on. That's gross. Sorry. I'm not about that. I know there's like a. You know, I've made salad dressings before. Like, I've done, like, I like a hummusy kind of salad dressing or a tahini one, but I don't have any tahini. So this is just kind of basic. Like, I should make one. Like, I definitely should, but it's kind of late at night. So I had purchased, just knowing I might be kind of busy, I just had purchased my favorite pre-made salad dressing, which is, like, my favorite one from when I was a kid, which is just the Newman's Own classic oil and vinegar salad dressing, and the ingredients are not really that bad. Let's see. They're okay. It's not like, I think if you made your own salad dressing, it probably would be 100 times better, but I want a big salad right now. I think I'm gonna have this one. That's a lot of salad dressing. Anyway, I'll put the little. So that's one that I really like a lot. Like that's one of my, like a pre-made one. I like that one a lot because when I was a kid, it's just very nostalgic. Because I never liked like my dad used to love like the blue cheese salad dressing, which I thought was nasty. Because even though I'm like more plant-based now, as a kid my mom was a vegetarian, but they ate dairy. I think they were vegan like for the first 5 years of me being a baby, but I don't know. They decided that they preferred vegetarian, and I never really liked cheese or dairy, and this was like the biggest struggle with my parents. My mom would try to get me to eat cheese, and I'm like, no, I am not eating cheese. I thought cheese was so disgusting, and I was always like, why do I think cheese is so disgusting? But then I thought about it. I was like, well, we didn't eat cheese until I was like almost 5, and then all of a sudden she decided she wanted to eat cheese again, and because she was missing it. But I wasn't missing it because I had never really ate it. And she's like, oh, you have to eat this piece of cheese. And I'm like, no. I'm not even the biggest fan of plant-based cheese. Now, there is an exception to the rule. I do like a plant-based nacho. That's really good. Well, she'd have me try to eat like Tillamook cheese. It doesn't matter what kind of cheese. I hate cheese because I've never liked dairy of any kind. I don't like dairy milk. Any kind of dairy milk. Any kind of animal-based cheese, milk, eggs. I'm just not about it. As a kid, I think I ate pizza just because like the sauce would kind of mask the cheese. But the older I got, the more repulsed I was by the cheese. And part of the reason I've been plant-based for so long is because I just don't like cheese that much. Even plant-based pizzas, like I can live without them. I'll eat them occasionally. I do love almond milk and coconut milk now. And oat milk, but previously I just didn't like cheese. I'm mostly plant-based. I wouldn't consider myself vegan because I don't really take that political I feel like it's just, I don't really agree with how like vegans think, and they want everybody to eat exactly like them. And honestly, my sister, like, she goes in and out. I don't, but I'm not upset she goes there, you know? I do what works for me. But anyway, this was fun, and I think if you are into, what was I gonna say, like ghost stories, like I think you guys should consider making like an ASMR ghost story type thing. That might be fun. Anyway, thanks for watching.